Oh, let me jump back and forth here. Want to get comfortable? No, welcome. I'm just doing a quick video here. I'm going to show you how to um, edit a writer's first draft. And I'm going to be following our current editor checklist. Not necessarily every to a T precisely, but I'm following all the steps. And these are the steps that I do follow through and think through as I am editing them, not necessarily coming back to check off every box. So let's see here. This is our editor checklist. There's a series of questions here. Let's go through a review of them. Who is the reader and what do they need to know? So I've got this in my mind as I've looked through the content series template, and I just am thinking about the reader that we're targeting. Who is our audience? And so for our in-home care series, we're targeting, our main target is children, mainly daughters of older adults who are needing or going to soon need senior care. So the age range is somewhere between 35 and 55. They have their parents. So with that in mind, and I'm considering who's the reader and what do they need to know next. And it's concerning, each article is different. Each article is a different topic. So what do our readers need to know about home nurse care? Now, home nurse care is it's a way. Home nurse care describes. It's one of the many ways to describe in-home care, but it's an umbrella that encompasses non-medical care and also medical care. What do they need to know about home nurse care? Well, they with the keyword home nurse care, they are going to be, what's their search intent? Well, I'm imagining that they are searching either because they don't know they don't know exactly what home nurse care entails, and they want to know more before they try and get their loved one into in a service like that. Or the other scenario is they do know and they're interested in finding a good home nurse care service for their senior. And so those are the two things I'm looking for, that we can funnel them into the services that Amy's Eating provides, and also that we just are able to tell really well, describe it to the reader what home nurse care is. So what do they need to know next? Okay, so then so those are kind of just topics to keep in mind as we're reading through the article and pinpointing certain things. Often I will go ahead and just start with those things in mind. I will start and just ensure that we have all of our requirements met for the artist. So that's going to be down here, the initial check. Skim through the article, check for the mandatory requirements. So do they have the right number of words? Do they have the right number of tables and lists and bullet points? And do they meet our required number of H2s? And so that's the first step. So I've gone through, and this writer has written enough They have the word count. They've got numbered and bulleted lists. They've got at least we have at least 5 H2s, so they have all the 5 H2s. They now I go through and I look at all of the links to see that they have at least 5. So there's 1 and our 2 mandatory links. I'm just checking through real quick. Care nursing, there's another, so there's 2, and that's not one of our mandatory. So assisted living, there's one of our mandatory, so there's 3. Home health agency, there's another one of ours, and there's another one of ours. So yeah, they do meet the requirements for our minimum requirements there. I would perhaps like to see more external links, just a couple, because this is this article is more of the top of the funnel article, so we want to present a little bit more information, of course in an interesting way, but we want to see that they've done good research to know what the topic is. So that's something that I will note with the writer, and for future articles. So I've done the initial check. Let's go back here. So let's continue thinking about it. Does the article answer the question posed in the core keyword? And at this point, this is when I'm going to start reading through and really looking at the article. Does the article make sense? How much value to the reader does this article add? Does this article flow in a logical order? Does the article explore too many topics? Does the article mention something that must be mentioned? Does it mention all those things that we need to mention? Is it easy to read? Is it boring? Is there a lot of fluff? So I'm just going to start reading through it. This is where our article starts. This is information for the writers. So first thing I see is that the title is actually a little bit lengthy, as well as the introduction. So I mentioned that to the writer, and I gave them, I didn't try and rewrite it for them, but I told them what we're looking for, and then specifics of we need them to shorten H1 and make the introduction smaller. And I gave them the idea, the specific thing should be just a few sentences. So I want it to be just a few sentences. And then this section here, where there's a whole bolded paragraph, it's kind of taking away from the article flow. We want to bold important themes and points, but it should be one sentence or a portion of one sentence to help when someone is skimming and they just want to know what the main takeaway is from it. Then they can find that one bolded thing, and then their interest will be piqued, and they will continue to read the rest of that paragraph, knowing what the main point of the paragraph is. So yeah, I gave those, as I'm giving correction and instruction, I'm trying to be as clear as possible, and obviously I'm not trying to bury our writers in, and like to make them feel bad about their writing, but just telling them where they can improve, and with an attitude that they're very capable writers and they'll be able to improve. So I'm checking the SEO data. Sorry, there's another. When we get to the detail check, we're going to check some more things. But I'm going to continue just reading through for a little bit, and I've already done a little bit of this, as you can see. Home nurse care involves all the forms of professional support that elderly people need to carry out their day-to-day activities in their own homes. And a lot of times it does help to read out loud certain sections. If you have enough time, read out loud the whole article. Unlike other types of senior care, like assisted living or nursing homes, home care nursing is flexible. Depending on the patient's needs, you can use the service whenever you want. For example, you can hire a caregiver for a couple of hours while you are away for a meeting, or you can hire a nurse for a 15-minute IV administration. Some people hire home care nursing 24/7 for months and years. Right? What is home care nursing? Home care nursing can be very versatile. So that definitely answers the question. That's a great question that our writer has posed, and good answer. And I can see that this writer has chosen to do questions as a lot of their H2s, which I think is a really great way in a lot of cases to do that. And I'm not going to necessarily dictate each H2 that the writer needs to have. I am looking for the keywords, variation to the keywords in those, and throughout the body of the text, but I'm not, we have our writers so that they can creatively produce the content within a format and with a set of rules that we give them to ensure that the content will be will be valuable for us, meaning it will have SEO. We'll have SEO variables that we need, and it will resonate with our audience as much as possible. So I would continue going through here and reading, and I would try and read all of the texts. I would need to read all the text, I should say, and some of it I'll go reading out loud, some of it in my head as I go, looking for anything that doesn't sound right. And I've, as you can see, I've kind of marked some things, but also I'm looking for things that really resonate. So if if I read a section that really resonates, I'll let the writer know that works really well in this content series. And hopefully they'll be able to replicate that for future articles. And then I'll point out things that don't work so well. Now I don't want to see too much grammar. If I see too much improper grammar, I will go ahead and I'll just send it back to them without reading through the whole thing, to let them know they should proofread it a little better before they send it. If I notice one or two grammar mistakes, no biggie. I'll just point them out and send it back with the rest of the edits. So let's see. Let's go through the rest of our little checklist. So I am checking the detailed check, making sure that they have the SEO data, core keywords, variations. For these articles, we're not having them introduce images, so that one's a moot point there. Check internal links. I've checked those internal links before I read through it, and made sure that as I read through it, I'll make sure that those internal links, they make sense within the context of the paragraph, section, and sentence that they're in. And make sure that they, it makes sense to link to that specific article. as far as the formatting go, I'm checking to make sure that the paragraphs are of a good length. We don't want them too long in our articles. Control Z. I'm checking for style and the wording, but I'm not worried about the text format. I'm not concerned about those specifics, because those our web developers will make those specifics. They deal with those. So I'm checking some of that formatting, but I don't have to worry about all the formatting. Let's see here. Did the writer promote the client's product? It's another question that I'm asking myself as I'm reading it. Where in this article does the author point our readers to the services that Amy's Eden offers? And I haven't gone through it all the way. I think it'll be a little bit lower that down here that our writer does that. So I need to make sure the language is good too. There's a specific voice that I want to that we need to make sure our writers are using. With the senior care, we need to make sure that they're using the terms for seniors well, and that they're being mindful of how those terms are perceived. For example, the word senior for some is actually not the greatest word. It has kind of connotations of negative connotations for older adults. So I'm looking that our writers are using terms like older adults, or perhaps elders, or perhaps in some cases seniors, but also, as much as possible, as much as makes sense, they don't include those words actually, but they describe those populations with things like people suffering from dementia, or people with trouble taking care of their personal hygiene. And some of those other types are those meaning I'm looking to see that our writers are using those alternate vocabulary instead of senior, using senior a lot, or elderly, or old people. For our voice to really resonate with the audience, so it won't taste like bad cheese in there as they read it, figuratively speaking. Okay, and there's just some other general how to spot bad writing. Too many repeated words, talking in the first person and using cliche jargon, going on about something painfully obvious, super long intros, false information, boring sections. I will mention also, I forgot to mention that before I even read it, I'm putting it through a Copyscape, which checks for plagiarism. It's not a perfect system, so plagiarism still can get through, but we need to make sure, especially with our probationary writers, since we don't know them very well yet, that we do see make sure that they're not plagiarizing. So this has been a somewhat long video, but I think that if you follow the steps and follow the process that I've explained here, then you'll do very well editing your writer's articles.